Give them a shot to do what?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dwayne Marcus? Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Are you uh-oh. Uh-oh. You stuck in the matrix over there, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Are we good now?
I think we're getting there. I think you're coming back slowly.
I don't know what's happening. I wish I could tell you. He's stuck. You know we're live because I don't know what's happening. Are we good now? Is everything clear?
That was the best we got so far.
It's still playing. I don't know what's happening. It's not actually playing. I don't know what's going on. I wish I had the.
Are you delayed over there, pal?
I don't know.
Well, I guess not because we're. It doesn't seem like it, but there's something going on. Yeah, maybe we can get you back plugged in. Dwayne Marcus getting technical difficulties in order. If you're here though, if you're tapped in, this is the Protect Our Queens podcast, where if you don't like women's basketball, this is not the place for you. We got some things to get into tonight. And we're just gonna see if we can get Dwayne Marcus tapped back in. What's up, pal? Are you?
I don't know. I wish I could tell you what that was. I really do. I don't know what happened there. I don't know. It just. All right. Whatever. Welcome to another episode of the Protect Our Queens podcast presented by the Give Us a Shot Network. Seems like I'm free from the Matrix, and so now I'm able to join you guys in the real world. With me, as always, my brother in Christ, my partner in crime, Martin Sories. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Great time to talk some basketball. Very excited. Got a lot going on, but always good to be here on a Tuesday night to tap in. As I just said before, you plug back in or out. Still not really sure, but if you don't like women's basketball, this is not the place for you. If you're following along, watching the show, make sure you leave a comment as we get into some of the topics tonight. Marcus, what are we talking about on this lovely evening?
There are a lot of things that we are talking about. First and foremost, we are revisiting our top 10 lists from what we did at the beginning of the season.
Top 10.
Sorry, our top 10 players in the WNBA as it stands right now. We're also going to be talking about who the top 5 scorers in the WNBA are as it stands right now. And 4.0, the tiers 4.0 are back. We've got 7 tiers tonight to go over for all 12 teams. Before we get into all that stuff, though, we're debuting a little bit of a new segment here tonight where we just kind of talk about some of the biggest things that happen across the world of women's basketball, which in this case is really just the WNBA. This week in women's basketball, most of this stuff is from this weekend because it was a very eventful weekend. Martin Sories, wouldn't you know, A'ja Wilson became the all-time leading scorer in franchise history for the Las Vegas Aces. She's up to 4,301 points. That was done this past weekend during the game against the Wings. During the Aces, now the third all-time leading scorer in WNBA history. Caitlin Clark became the fastest rookie to reach 350 points and 150 assists in a single season. Just took her 22 games. Was held by Sue Bird, took her 25 games. Caitlin Clark also became the first rookie ever to record a triple-double, 19 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists in her game against the Liberty. Angel Reese not only set the record for most consecutive double-doubles by a rookie, she also set the record for most consecutive double-doubles by a player in WNBA history. She has 13 now. And just because I thought it was cool. Ezzy Magbegor set a new career high in blocks in a single season. She has 8. Martin Sories, speaking of Ezzy Magbegor, she has forced a turnover or a block on 9. She has forced a turnover or blocked a shot 9 times when defending the most in WNBA this season. Could you name the 4 players that are?
Unfortunately, you're still lagging a little bit, buddy. So I didn't catch the end part of that.
Just that Ezzy Magbegor has forced a turnover or a block, or has blocked a shot 9 times when defending post-ups, which is tied for the most in the WNBA this season. Can you name the 4 players that are behind her in that?
Okay, forced a turnover, blocked a shot, or what was it?
On post-ups. She's forced a turnover.
On defending post-ups. Either forced a turnover or blocked a shot. That's kind of crazy.
Yes.
Asia Wilson, I'm assuming, is in there.
Not on that list, actually, which surprised me.
Okay.
She's not on
how about Nneka Ogwumike?
No, Nneka's not on that. Not in that top 5 either. You've got we've got there are 2 from the West, and there's 2 players from the East behind.
2 players from the West, 2 players from the East.
Yeah.
Jonquel Jones.
No, but
Alyssa Thomas.
No, not Alyssa Thomas, but one of Jonquel's teammates is on there.
Benajelani?
No.
Or Stewie? Really? Stewie?
Yes.
Wow.
Stewie has 8. Stewie has 8. There's 2 other players that have 8, and there's 1 other person that has 9. I don't think you'll get 2 of these players, but you should get 1. You've talked about her team a lot recently, the last couple of weeks.
Nafisa,
yes. Nafisa also had 8. Natasha Mack of the Phoenix Mercury has 9 as well, and Carly Lou Samuelson of the Indiana Fever also had. So Ezzy Magbegor, again, forced a turnover or blocked a shot. Post-ups. Her defensive player of the year resume looks really good. She's 2nd overall in blocks per game.
You're giving us great stuff, bro. But it's just not the matrix is not your friend today right now.
Let's do this. I'm going to play the intro. We're going to go into our top 10 lists, and I'm going to let you start, and I'm going to try to see if I can fix that while you're giving your top 10.
All right,
your remake. All right.
Protect our queens.
No matter what it takes, we must protect our queen.
I mean, I just love playing the game. It's fun.
I'm reacting on what the defender does.
I hit them with a hezzy. After that, they quit.
Yeah, I think I've always just been able to get downhill. So I've sort of prided myself on that.
I know what I'm doing. Like, people can't tell me I'm not doing the right. Like, I've been taught the right way.
All right. We are about to try to redo our top 10 players in the WNBA. We did this before on the show, and I have some movement on my list. I remember that Marcus and I's list were pretty similar, but I have some movement, and I was going to bring up, so we did have kind of an injury clause for Satu Sabally. Neither of us had her in our top 10. For that reason, she still hasn't come back yet. And she started the season out. And it kind of hit me that we didn't afford that same clause to Chelsea Gray, because I had Chelsea Gray in my top 10 coming in. I'm pretty sure Marcus did as well. Which I think we pretty much assumed that she would be a top 10 player, but in fairness, Chelsea Gray, we could have left her off our top 10s initially. So I wanted to mention that, but there is some interesting movement, and I'm looking forward to seeing if we can get Dwayne Marcus back in here and active, so we can really kind of chop it up about this. But So top two players are the same for me: Asia Wilson, Breonna Stewart. I think they're still the top two players in the league. My third player did change. I had Alyssa Thomas in there in the top three, which for me carried over from last season. But I think right now Nafisa is comfortably slotted there as the third best player. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. You look all right. You look like you're moving okay.
What's up, man? I don't know what's going
on. So yeah, I got Nafisa top three.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think both of our top top fives should have changed. I mean, I think we both should have had some movement based on new information based on the season. I have Jewel Lloyd at 4, and Kalia Copper is not only in my top 10, but now she is a top 5 player in the WNBA comfortably for me right now. So walk me through your top 5. Where are you at so far?
Our top 5 is identical. We just got some switches. So Ka is 4 on my list.
Then it's not identical.
Like the players are identical. I mean, not like the order. Like we have the same 5 players.
Okay.
So Kalia Copper's 4 on mine instead of Jewel Lloyd being 4. So Jewel Lloyd's 5, and then Nafisa is actually 2, because when I was thinking about the top 5 players, I was thinking about it from an MVP standpoint, like who have been essentially, like, if I'm voting for MVP, who fills out my ballot. Nafisa would get my vote for second place on my MVP ballot, and Stewie would be third. So that's same players, slightly different order, but yeah, I think Nafisa's been number 2.
That's fair. But who's the better player? If we're saying that if that's what you're going by, if we're talking just basketball, who's the better player, you're still going Nafisa right now?
I think Stewie overall is the better basketball player. I think Nafisa has played better so far this season, though, which is why she's 2.
Okay. That's fair. That makes sense. I like to go by basically the first part of that. Like, I think aesthetics matter. Like, we're going to talk about top 5 scorers, and that's like, there's an aesthetic conversation there too that I look forward to kind of getting your take on. But as an all-around player, like, I kind of take away, like, I like to think of it as just as a basketball, which how you're playing right now contributes to that. It's not just all like ability, it's based on how you're playing right now. So you doing it that way, I think, is totally fair.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too for me is, like, Nafisa, I know we talk a lot about how great that Asia's is and has been defensively, but I also think, like, between the two, I think Nafisa's also been playing better ball defensively as well between herself and Stewie this season as well. So it's like a really close thing, and that's going to be a trend when we get to the tiers as well. It's like a really close thing, but I would just give the edge to Nafisa ever so slightly.
I think the top 3 is clear cut, and I think we all know Asia's 1, and I think Stewie and so you can kind of, like, it's almost a toss up right now, but I'm totally good with her being that number 2. At 6, I had to put in somebody who wasn't in my top 10 at first, who I struggled with, I struggled with it, like I said, but clearly right now, Jonquel Jones is a top 10 player. I have Jonquel at 6.
Jonquel Jones is not in my top 10, bro.
Yo, really? Wow. Really?
Jonquel's not in my top 10.
Literally, like, deja vu, roles reversed, all of that right now. Like, Twilight Zone.
Jonquel, so it was tough.
I look forward to seeing where you went, because I struggled with a couple names, but all right, bro. I'm looking forward to hearing who.
Jonquel's not in my top.
Who do you have at 6?
So I'm going to be honest. I have Sabrina at 6. I think that, and again, a lot of it, I'm putting a lot of weight on what we've seen so far this season. And
okay.
You and I have had this conversation a lot, like, on the show about other players not named Breanna Stewart needing to step up consistently, and you obviously from the beginning of the season was very adamant on Sabrina. What we've seen from Sabrina so far this season, we talked about it a little bit last week on the show. It's the best year of her career so far as just being able to like what she's doing from a scoring standpoint, what she's doing from a playmaking standpoint, from a facilitating standpoint, like consistently she's been, and I showed love to Jonquel last week because we talked about that as well. But it's interesting how like things have ebbed and flowed because I fought so hard to try to put Jonquel on this list. I really, really did. I tried so hard. I reworked this list so much, but just when I think about the way that Sabrina's been playing, when I think about the other 4 players on my list that filled out the rest of my top 10 have been playing in respect to where their teams are, I had to. It hurt me. It certainly hurt me because I was like, I can't. It was tough because we just saw Jonquel go 34-8 against the Aces a couple weeks ago, and it's hard to think that like a performance like that isn't good enough to get you in the top 10. But she's not. She's not in my top 10. Like I really wanted to put her at 10, especially, but the player I have at 10. And I think once we get there, based on conversations that you and I have had, you'll 100% be like, it makes sense that I have that player at 10. But Jonquel is not my top 10.
I'm proud of you for vying for Sabrina. I'm proud of you for making that Sabrina. I mean, she almost cracked your top 5. That's impressive. And we, I talked some about it last week. I mean, we are seeing from her, she's one of the top guards in the league. For sure now. She has proven that like she's playing top 10 basketball, I would say. Wow, that is interesting. And good for her. Good for her to get that and for that to be like legit for her. I still look forward to hearing the rest of your name. Sabrina at 6. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right.
At 6. Yeah, man.
I have Jackie Young at 7. Wait, is that 7? Sorry.
Yeah, we're on 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
Jackie Young is not my 7. She's not my 7.
Crazy. I actually I should have put numbers here because I can add one and I'm glad because you better have the person who I just now put at 10, who I can now put at 10 because she's a top 10. You better have if Jonquel's not in there, it better be for this person. It might be someone else I'm thinking you might have in there too, though. All right, sorry. Who do you have at 7?
I have Angel Reese at 7.
Yo, you came you came crazy tonight. I'm not even gonna say crazy. I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah.
But Sabrina at 6 and Angel Reese at 7. Top 10 players right now.
I think the thing for me, I think the thing for me with Angel is coming into the season, the big conversation was everyone like knew that like Caitlin's game would translate because of the way that she plays and where she was going, right? She was going to Indiana, like having a lead guard with the skills of Caitlin Clark. Everyone expected that to translate. I think while there were people that still expected Angel Reese's game from college, from LSU to translate, I don't think a lot of people expected it to translate this. I'm not going to say easily, but like this quickly and this fluidly. And I think it has a lot to do with who she's playing for and where she's playing at. Like Angel Reese has been. She started off the season.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, bro. But let me, because when we were texting, when we were going through that, you asked me specifically, like, you said something like, this season or right now. You were saying this season or right now or in general, which I understood. But I want to make it clear for anybody watching this, because I don't know if you could clarify, speak for yourself, but based on your criteria, because you're going off of what you're seeing this season, impact for their team, the things you said before, like you are not suggesting, are you? And go ahead if you will, but are you suggesting that Angel Reese is better than Jonquel Jones right now?
No, not
right. You're not right.
Angel Reese is not better than Jonquel Jones in totality.
Right. See, my list is the 10 best players in the WNBA. Period. Like that is how I did my list.
So here's how my list came about. Wrote out I'll be honest, I wrote out a list of 15 players that I thought, and there were like 6 or 7 of them that were undeniably top 10. And the other half were like an argument. And I looked at all of those players and then I translated that. Okay, now who are the 10 to 15 best players just this season alone? Like, who have been the 10 best players on the basketball court this season alone? And then I mixed and matched and put a list together that made the most sense. So the reason why Jonquo dropped out of my top 10, it's not because I think that she's not a top 10 player in totality. I think that there have been other players this season that have been more meaningful, more impactful to their team's success and where they are right now that put them in their top 10, whereas Jonquo is not. So in this list of like the way that my top 10 is formatted, Jonquo Jones is 11. She got beat out by one player in specific. Like I said, when I get to that player, I think you'll understand why she's, why she's there, because we've kind of talked about it before. Yeah. But yeah.
Wow.
This very interesting. And I asked that question. I'll be honest. I asked that question to you over text because I knew how you were coming with your list. And I knew that with I didn't want to have like an identical list, but I also wanted to make sure that I was accurately like assessing what was happening in real time based on like what we were seeing. And so I think I probably gave a little bit too much weight to like what was actually happening in 2024 and kind of not this happened all before, because like Jonquo Jones is a better basketball player than Angel Reese right now, obviously. But if I'm just saying based off of this season, I would say that Angel Reese has been a better player than Jonquo this season, but she's not a better basketball player than Jonquo Jones. No, I'm not. That's not the suggestion that's being made. Because if Cameron Brink wasn't hurt, she would be in my top 10 as well.
So the only thing I want to say about that is that when we get to scorers, an easy way to go about that based on, I'm not saying like you're wrong for that criteria, but it's always interesting. Like even when I started looking at stuff to go through my top 5 scorers list, and I've argued with people about this before many times. Many people, when you ask them who the best scorer is, they just go to who averages the most points. Most people, a lot of people, if you ask them the top 5 scorers, they're going to go to points per game and see who the top 5, which that was my starting point. But like, that's why I love the scoring conversation. I'm a scoring enthusiast. And so I love that conversation because aesthetic does come into play. It's not just the numbers. It's not just impact. It's like scoring is very specific. Who do you trust to get a bucket if you give them the ball? That's all your list should be about. You know what I mean? Like it's that's all it's about. So for me, I think of this list as it should be the 10, like in totality, who are the best players. And again, I don't think it's to say it's wrong to do like a right now thing. And that is why you asked. But that certainly is going to make our list different because yeah, I mean, I would have a different list if it was just based on like, I mean, if it was based on what you're saying, even like, Asia's not the MVP. Like she's not the best, but she wouldn't be like, her team isn't like, it would go to probably like Sabrina or Brianna or Nafisa or, like, but
I think Asia's a special case though.
She is.
Yeah.
But again, it's because like she's that good. Like she's clearly better type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not just about because this season the Aces have not been great yet.
No. Yeah.
That it doesn't mean. I mean, she's like if you're watching, you're seeing she's clearly the best player. So, but yeah, I don't want to knock your criteria. I had to give that caveat because I have these conversations many times and things get lost and misunderstood. And so that's good. All right. So I have Arike at 8.
Oh, as do I.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though her team has won like 4 total games this season?
I look at the Dallas Wings and I think it's clear that they don't have the record they have if Satu Sabli's healthy. I think it goes down to for them. Because I think Arike has played consistently like what we expect Arike to play, like how we expect Arike to play basketball. I don't think their suffering is because Arike has dropped off as their best player, because she's been consistent. It's just they're missing their second best player, and so that's why they're not able to win these games that they're and they're in a lot of tight games. Like they're in a lot of tight games. They're not getting blown out. So yeah, I have Arike at 8.
Kelsey Plum is at 9 for me.
Jackie Young is my 9. Kelsey Plum's not on my list.
Who do you have at 10? It better be the right person, because even by your criteria, this person deserves to be top 10 if you got Sabrina in there. But it could be between 2 people. I'm thinking two people.
So if there's 2 people, I was tied between. It was either going to be Caitlin on this list at 10.
Shut up, Marcus.
I'm not lying. It was going to be Caitlin, or it was going to be, or it was going to be Dawana, because of conversation that we had the other day when I was talking to you about how the Sun. Dawana Bonner is my 10. Yeah.
Okay. Dawana was one of the 2 I thought. Dawana was one of the 2 I thought.
Brian Howard's. I don't know what's happening with Brian Howard this season.
Bro, I don't make me depressed. I don't even want to look into. I've been wondering myself, and I'm scared to even look into it. I don't even.
Yeah. Dawana is my 10, and I'll just reiterate for show's sake what I said to you on the phone the other day. We were kind of talking about the Sun. I think that this season, Alyssa Thomas obviously was very instrumental in the undefeated start to the season for the Sun, because she is their best player. But I think, and I especially picked up on this after having gone to that Mystics game when the Sun were here, and then thinking back and looking back at some of their other games. Dawana Bonner is consistently the Sun's closer. Like whether they are in a tight game and they need to seal the win, whether they need to come from behind and need to pick up the win, Dawana Bonner is their closer, and she doesn't always get off to a hot start, but once we start get rolling, like come third, fourth quarter time, like she is consistently in that mode, and she's consistently closing these games out for the Sun, and to me that held weight. So I moved Dawana Bonner up from originally where she was like 12 on my list when we did it at the beginning of the season. She's now 10 for that reason. And I think I think she deserves to be in that spot there.
I've decided that, for one, you no longer deserve Kelsey Plum on your so-called favorite team.
Because I didn't have her in my top 10.
That's for one. The disrespect is unbelievable.
I didn't disrespect Kelsey Plum, bro. I love KP. I think KP's great.
You were ready to put Caitlin Clark in the top 10. And KP is not even in.
It wasn't like, it wasn't like by
Caitlin
KP.
Clark and Jonquel Jones didn't make the cut. I mean, you were considering her too, but
it's not like I was just like, oh yeah, Caitlin over everybody. It's not like it was just like a dismissive type of thing. It was a well thought out process, Mark. Well thought out process. I had to stay true to form though. I've been very tough on Caitlin. I had to stay true to form. I couldn't
let me be the one.
I was very modern.
Go ahead.
You know what it was? Remember when we talked about Caitlin originally, and I said Caitlin Clark is not going to be a top 10 player year one. You know what it was?
Said you wouldn't average 20 a game as a rookie.
Yeah,
I tried to get you to backtrack it. I tried to save you. Only 4 points off.
I'm not backtracking. I was like, man, it wouldn't actually be a good look if I put her in my top 10 after I just kind of said she wouldn't be like a top 10 player year one. So I just I kind of had to just leave her out in the cold for just for the optics, But yeah, who do you have at your 10? I think we went about this very differently, but who do you have at your 10?
Well, there are 4 players right now who are averaging a double-double. 3 of them are in both of our top 10s, and the 4th is my number 10, and she's not in your top 10, and I'm going to give her respect and her flowers right now. Do you know who that person is?
I'm really sitting here trying to think of who all the players that are averaging a double-double are.
Only 4.
And he's just averaging a double-double. Nafisa's averaging a double-double?
Oh, well, one of them is in your top 10, not mine, actually.
Angel's
she
averaging
made
a
it.
double-double.
Yep.
Who's the 4th person that's averaging a double-double?
You might have to think hard, but it shouldn't have to take it. Shouldn't be that. So.
I don't think she's ever done a double-double. Is De'Erica averaging a double-double?
She sure is 19 and 10. And I got her right at 10 because
good.
she's played her
That's
way
good.
into a top 10 player
That's
right now. The other players, I was considering Dewana, and I was struggling a little bit with NECA actually. But yeah, that's those are our very differently thought through top 10 lists.
I finished my list this morning when I was on the way to work, and I said Martin's either going to.
I'm really glad to have Sabrina in. I'm really glad you have Sabrina in yours because
I was gonna say like Martin's gonna either like really appreciate the inclusion of Sabrina, or it's gonna be completely overshadowed by 6 through 10. I think.
And yeah, no, I mean, and I love Angel. I love Angel making the cut. I think by your criteria, your list kind of makes sense. I'll give you that.
I appreciate that. Let's switch gears from one list to another. Let's talk about scores and get into all of that good stuff. Martin, who do you have as your top 5 scores in the WNBA?
Well, first of all, I think can we take a second to acknowledge how interesting it is, and just outright, just true it is at this point that A'ja Wilson is not only the best player, but she's also the best scorer in the league.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean, I think I don't think I thought of A'ja Wilson as being like this great scorer, even coming out of college. Like, I mean, we know she's gotten so much better and stuff, but I mean, she's the best scorer in the league with a league full of buckets, like bucket getters. And, you know, I've touched on how historically great her mid-range shooting is. And now she's picking up her 3-point shooting this season. If anyone who's been watching has seen her pushing the ball more, I think now she's starting to slot change a little bit here, Marcus, with her position. This is why she's messing people up, because I think she legitimately made herself a hybrid post, showing that versatility, not just a power forward back to the basket player, but a hybrid post who can face up, do pick and pop. And her shooting game has just evolved in such a beautiful way. But now she's looking like a dual forward out there almost, you know, like she really is able to slot change a little bit. I think she's got hybrid post really, really down. Like, she is becoming a quintessential hybrid post specimen. But it's like what she's doing, pushing the ball more, hitting guards like Erica Wheeler with the in and out cross and transition and one, like looking like a guard even at times, is making her look like she wants to slot change to dual forward. And that's just crazy. But I mean, bro, she's the best scorer in the league as a big, which I mostly have guards in the rest of my list. But I mean, A'ja is clear cut number 1 best scorer in the league, and that's just crazy to me. I mean, that's crazy. Look, I said how her NBA comp was Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was never argued for as the best scorer in the league in any era, in any time. Maybe in his prime, people would talk, but it just, there was always somebody who would be considered better, who averaged more, or who was more prolific or more flashy or whatever. Like, yeah. So she's an anomaly, dude. Who do you have at 2?
I have the person that I thought was the best scorer in the WNBA coming into the season. Jewel Lloyd is my number 2. Same here. I think in going back to your original point earlier, when we were still in the middle of top 10s, you're talking about not just the aesthetic, but who you trust most to get a bucket. Like, there's not many players on the face of the planet that I would trust more to go get a bucket in any scenario than Jewel Lloyd. And she and I thought that there would be a slight, like just a bit of a dip with Diggins Smith and NECA, and there is. I think she's averaging like 19 point something right now. but she's still just as good of a scorer as she was before they got there. Yeah, Jewel Lloyd. I mean, she can give you a bucket at any time on any place on the floor. So Jewel Lloyd's she's my 2.
Yeah. It's also about like how you get your buckets, because I don't think anyone has the shot creation versatility, just the different kinds of shots, pull up, pivot work, like just the adjustments, the different kinds of shots that she can get to. I don't think anyone other than who I have at 3, I think is the next best at that. But I think Jewel Lloyd is in that sense of like give you the ball and like get me a bucket. Like it's crazy because Asia is the best scorer. Like she's that, and it's again she's gotten so much better because I will give Asia the ball and I know she'll go 2-3 dribbles, spin, get a bucket, or post fade, or like I trust her now to be, or she'll just rise up on you, right? So like as a scorer, I'm comfortable saying that, even though, and you know I'm guard biased. That's just how I am. But like even though as a guard, like Jewel Lloyd, I would expect her to create a different, like more amount of shots, more options as a guard to create a shot. You know what I mean? But, and again, I'm just going back to how crazy it is that we are in agreement that Asia really is number 1. But as far as like just ability to get a bucket and create any kind of bucket, I would like Jewel Lloyd would be number 1 in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have Arike at 3.
Same.
Comfortably.
Yeah,
I would think so.
I would say that
the last 2 spots I think is where it gets more interesting. But Arike, I mean, she's only a few players averaging 20. You know, there's only a few of it's Asia, Arike. I
think Nafisa is also averaging 20.
Nafisa is as well. Yeah. There might be one more person, but that might be it.
Yeah. I mean, Arike is, I mean, like you said, there's just watching Arike play basketball as a number 1 option from a scoring standpoint, very similar to Jewel Lloyd. I would say the one very distinct difference, and this kind of goes back to a conversation I think you and I had some time ago about Arike specifically is, and we also have the conversation about like Caitlin as well. There are some shots that like you wouldn't trust anyone else to take. Like for other people, it's a bad shot, but like for Arike, it's not. I like Arike is very much so like there are sometimes you're pulling up like and she's pulling up shots like that's such a bad shot, but it's like it's not a bad shot because it's her, right? But like I've also seen Kelsey Plum take that shot and want to like shoot myself because that's not her thing. You know what I mean? So like Arike, I agree. I think because of her evolution at her position and because of the evolution that she's made, even like in this season, just for our eyes, Asia, I think, has become number 1. But I would say if you're not including Asia, then Jewel and Arike are the 2 best scorers in the WNBA. So I think that top 3 makes perfect sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's crazy you bring up Kelsey Plum again. The disrespect is just unbelievable to me. But the fact that I have Kelsey Plum in my top 10 overall players and not in my top 5 scorers, and her best attribute is scoring, just something that kind of just caught my eye just now. Kind of interesting. At number 4, but these last 2 spots are going to get interesting. I have Stewie at 4. I couldn't not put Stewie in there just off the strength of, again, it's the shot creation ability. It's also, can people guard you? Like she's one of the most unguardable players, you know, hands down. I think she's taken a little step back. You even see that in her numbers from last season. She was going nuts last season. She's not shooting the ball as well, especially not from 3, but still one of the biggest matchup problems for anybody. She still rises up on you. She's still got that kind of unorthodox, weird timing thing where you can't really get a read on how she's going to do things. And I think she's still she's a top 5 scorer to me right now.
Stewie's in my top 5, but she's 5. There is one person I put in front of her.
Okay. Who is that?
I have Kalia Copper at 4.
I have Ka at 5.
Yeah, Kalia Copper is my 4. And you know what it is? When I was sitting here thinking about it, I thought back to when you were talking about when we did our top 10s initially, and you were talking about how Kalia Copper and Jackie Young are, probably the two best two-way players in the league. And then you look at Kalia Copper, she's averaging, I think, 23 a game or somewhere around there. She's like third.
Oh, she's averaging 22. She's the last person, I think, averaging over 20.
Yeah. I thought back to how we were talking even after the top 10 list when she went out, she dropped 38 one night, came back with 37 the next night. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the Phoenix Mercury, and we have a guy. This is no shade, but this is all in the thought process. We have a guy that whenever we drop tiers and we talk about the Mercury, he's always like, he thinks that we're overrating the Mercury a bit. But it has a lot to do with the fact that Kalia Copper has been, and I said this on the show a couple weeks ago, she's been a lot better to start the season than I initially anticipated. I thought there would be a bit of an adjustment. I thought there would be some growing pains playing alongside all of those new pieces, not just for her, but for everybody. But she has come in, and in a way, because of what they have going in Phoenix, it seems like she's even like tapped into a bit more, and she's become an even better scorer, like a more efficient scorer, because she's playing off of, now that BG's back, she's playing off of BG and Diana Taurasi. Diana Taurasi was on a heater to start the season. She led the league in made threes at one point in the season very early on. And she's comfortable and she's getting to her spots and she's allowed to feel that groove. So I had to put, I really did try to maybe convince myself that there was a chance that she could be at 3 ahead of Arike, but in the end, I really couldn't do it. I think about again, overall, Arike and Jewel, I think are there. I think they're on their own level together, like very neck and neck, a 1A, 1B type of situation. And as much as I love Stewie, and as much as I agree with all the things you said, I look at Ka, and again, it does kind of a little bit go into what's happening this season. I think that Ka I just have her at 4 ahead of Stewie, and it's ever so slightly. It's not like a major, but ever so slightly. I
almost went Ka, strictly off the fact that she's got more off the bounce. I trust her twitch and I trust her off the bounce as a scorer more than Stewie. But the size and the length, I think, and just again the matchup, thing. That's where I went the edge of Stewie. But pretty similar list there. Now, who were you considering? Who was your honorable mention? Because I have an honorable mention that I put at 5, and I had to scratch her out because I almost forgot about Kalia Copper. But did you have an honorable mention?
So I had 2.
Okay, I think we're gonna have the same one.
Because originally, I don't know how, I forgot about Stewie. And so my original 5 was Nafisa.
Okay.
Because
oh boy. I think we might have lost Dwayne Marcus there. The Matrix done took him again. Hopefully we can get him back so we can finish our conversation and our show. Much love if you've been tapping in live and watching on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're at. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at @ProtectOurQueens_. Stay tapped in with the show and the content from the show. Dwayne Marcus.
It was rude.
Yeah, man. You just left without paying the tab.
I had Nafisa at 5 originally. A lot that has to do with what I've seen from her this season. And then my other honorable mention, I started to convince myself that Jackie Young was a top 5 scorer in the WNBA as well. So she was the other one that it wasn't as strong of a push in there. But I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that she was pulling double duty in the beginning of the season, before Chelsea Gray got back. So she was still doing all of her, she had to step up as a facilitator, but she was still being a very efficient scorer and still affecting the game in all the ways that we know that she can affect the game as a scorer. So those are my 2. Halfway through, just as I close out the note, I was like, oh wait, I forgot about Stewie. So I just slotted her in there and pushed them all down. But those are my 2. Nafisa and Jackie were the 2 that I was considering.
Going back to Arike real quick, I just remembered this. And what makes her special as a scorer, because I looked at free throws too. Something with Asia leads the league by far in free throw attempts. And she shoots over 80% from the line. Free throws matter too, getting to the line and hitting free throws. But there are only 3 players in the top 20 of scoring that are shooting 90% from the free throw line. Arike is one of them. Name the other two.
That are in the top 20 in scoring, shooting 90% from the free throw line. Jewel Lloyd.
Nope.
The top 20 in scoring. Is Sabrina top 20 in scoring?
She is, and she is one of the two.
Okay.
The other one is someone I highlighted on the show recently.
Is it Kayla McBride?
Yes, it is. Good call.
Very nice.
Very good call.
Nice.
My honorable mention for top 5 scorers, who I almost had to put in there, and she's right there at 6 for me. I think I just, again, another one, you got to give her respect, because people cannot guard Kennedy Carter, bro. They can't guard her.
She went off for 30 something the other night, man. That was nuts. People
can't guard her. She's averaging 16 on 23 or 24 minutes a game, bro.
Yeah.
There are people averaging, that much, only a couple more points than her, playing 10 more minutes than her.
Yeah.
Erica Hamby plays 35 minutes a game. She averages 19 and 10. People cannot guard Kennedy Carter. It's just a fact. Did you see that video? Is a hilarious clip of Sue Bird talking about that story about guarding her.
I did watch that. Yes, I did.
Hilarious story. It's like, she really strikes fear in people. They can't hurt her quickness. Her quickness is the main thing that sticks out to me. But just a lethal shot maker. She reminds me of Iverson, bro. She percentages may not be great. Throw the efficiency out the window. She will get a bucket on you. You do not want her on an island. You people can't stay in front of her. They can't stop her, bro.
After she dropped 33 the other night, the video of her when she was in college and Texas A&M played the U.S. women's national team, one of their exhibition games, that her highlight tape from that started trending because they got blown out, obviously, but she had 34 points in her bucket, and she was just going nuts. That's a great honorable mention because she's been.
I couldn't help it, bro. Scoring, scorer, get a bucket. Her name has to come up right now. She's been lights out. She's been lights out. It's been great, and that's one of the reasons why the Sky are where they at, is because of Kennedy Carter. I mean, we talked a lot at the beginning of the season about their guard. We talked about all three of them. We talked about Dana Evans. We talked about Kennedy Carter. We talked about Marina Mabry. We gave a lot of love to Marina because Chaz came on the show and told us that Marina was due for a breakout season, and we talked about that a lot. We gave some love to Diamond DeShields even, but I don't think we talked a lot about really in those conversations about Kennedy Carter. But Kennedy Carter recently, as of late, has certainly she's been. I'll find the clip where I said it. The girl was coming off the bench. I said, bro, they got Kennedy Carter coming off the bench.
Yeah. It's just
that smelled like danger from the beginning. The beginning, bro. Once I saw they had Kennedy Carter, I said, wait. Hold the phone. Bro, dangerous. Let's talk about some tiers. Man.
It's about that time, man. Let's get into some tiers. It has been 3 weeks. Last week there were 6 tiers and the Sun was at the top. This week there are 7 tiers, and spoiler alert, it is a little crowded at the top. Starting at the bottom, it's official. Paige Beckers, welcome to DC, sweetheart. It ain't going good for the Washington Mystics. I really don't know what to say. And honestly, as someone that lives in DC, right, I love it. Please bring Paige to DC. Bring Paige to DC. Have her team up with Aaliyah Edwards and Shakira Austin and the crew. This team, look, I said it last week during the Mystics Report. This team is so much better than I think their record shows. They have the talent, right? Shakira Austin's been out of the lineup a lot. Katie Samuelson's not going to be playing until a post-Olympic break. Brittany Sykes not going to be playing until a post-Olympic break. I love all that. But here's the deal. Even once they come back, it's going to be too little too late. So barring anything, some voodoo magic in the WNBA lottery come December, Paige Beckers will be a Washington Mystic. Welcome to DC, Paige. Right above them, help is on the way. I have the Dallas Wings. Now, I'll be honest, both these teams have the exact same record. I do think, though, that there is just a little bit more help, a little bit more light at the end of the Wings tunnel compared to the Mystics, and that is Insatu Sabally. However, and this hit me this morning, it is very possible that if the Wings don't start stringing something together heading into the All-Star break, which is in 11 days, that Satu might sit out for the entire season because there would be no point in her playing basketball if there's no hope for them at least to get the 8th seed. And when you look at the teams that are ahead of them that are competing for those spots, they're getting further and further away. As I mentioned earlier, this team is not bad because they're bad. There's talent on this roster. You have Enrique, you have Tierra McCowan, you have Kalani Brown. They brought back Odyssey Sims, who has played a very critical role for them so far, so forth and so on. But they are like vast. Like, it is clear that they are missing ever so dearly the presence of last year's most improved player, Satu Sabali. These next two teams, they're not good, but I can't necessarily say they're bad either. And what I mean by that is the LA Sparks and the Atlanta Dream, for one reason or another, these are not teams that you're looking at right now and saying even have any slight of hope of making the playoffs. I think their playoff aspirations are done. It's time to look ahead to next season. But unfortunately, these two teams are also not bad enough to compete at the top of the draft lottery and maybe get one of these marquee players coming out, whether it's Paige, whether it's Kiki Ariapin, whoever it may be. And so all you have to hope for these two teams is that for the Sparks, they can continue to remain competitive, despite the fact that Cameron Brink is now out for the rest of the season with the and the Atlanta Dream can go down to the local police department. They can put on an APB for Ryan Howard. They can find her, bring her back, and she can start playing all-star caliber basketball again. Because as I mentioned at the top of the show, I don't know where Ryan Howard went, right? Martin Stories at the beginning of the season asked for Ryan Howard to have a big season. I went on a limb and said that Ryan Howard would be the MVP of the league this season. We both look foolish because I don't know where Ryan Howard is. Can't find her. Haven't seen her. Don't know where she's at, brother, at all. So these two teams, they're not good, but they're not bad. They're in that really unwanted purgatory that all sports teams try their hardest to avoid. Scary hours. These two teams, I think, and all the teams above them, I think we are going to see these 8 teams in the playoffs, starting with the Sky and the Fever, unless any of these teams above them, including themselves, have some type of drastic breakdown and leave the door open for the 4 teams below them. These two teams, first and foremost, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. I said it on the show last week. I said it in the comments of the video we posted about the Rookie of the Year race, and I'm going to say it again. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, despite all the records that they're breaking and despite how good they look, please remember, this is the worst they're going to be in their professional basketball careers. It is not going to get any worse than this. That's crazy considering just how good they are. You do not want to see either of these teams come postseason time as they continue to gel, as they continue to get comfortable. I like what I'm seeing from the Fever. A couple weeks ago, I looked at Martin Stories dead in the eye on this show, and I said, I was hesitant about the Fever because I wasn't sure, because we saw this movie last season. They started to get things together, then things fell apart. I don't think that's going to happen this season. They're getting it together, and it looks like they're going to be able to keep them together. Camila Cardoso in Chicago, Angel Reese in Chicago. We just talked about Kennedy Carter. There are a lot of issues for both of these teams that they can cause to some of the teams. And they are not backing down from a fight, not today, not tomorrow, and certainly not come postseason time. It is scary, scary hours in Indiana and Chicago. Right above them, these are the 2 dark horses, the Phoenix Mercury and the Seattle Storm. We talked about this last week with the Storm. The Storm, quiet as kept, ranked top 5, points per game, assists per game, rebounds per game, blocks per game, steals per game. We talked about Jewel Lloyd. We talked about Ezzy Magbagool potentially being Defensive Player of the Year. Look, the Mercury, they got off to a heater to start the season, thanks in part to Kalia Copper. I think that they've slightly regressed to the mean and bin. I think where they're at right now is where they'll be for the rest of the season, hovering around anywhere from 3 to 5 in the standings, but they are still dark horses. Both of these teams have veterans who have either been to or won a championship series in their careers, and they each have players on the team that know what it takes to get the job done, whether you're a favorite or an underdog. I don't think either of these two teams would be favored in any of their playoff series, unless, of course, they're playing against each other because someone has to be the favorite. But you can't sleep on the Seattle Storm. You can't sleep on the Phoenix Mercury. The Las Vegas Aces are on a tier by themselves because they're turning the corner. Martin Stories, when you know that the Aces, since Chelsea Gray has been back, they have lost 1 basketball game. They are looking like they are ready to make that push to win their 3rd consecutive championship in a row, making them the first teams to do that again since the great Houston Comets the first 4 years of this league. Martin and I have talked about this ad nauseum, how they got off to a slow start, yes, but we knew when Chelsea Gray came back, as she got into the flow of things, this team would start to return to form. They would start to return to that championship form and look like one of the best teams in a championship caliber roster. They've looked like that so far, despite 1 loss. And at the top, the cream of the crop, it was tough. I'll be honest. Last week, I'll just kind of elaborate. I could not definitively separate these three teams and put any of these teams ahead of another on their own tier as a queen of the court, as a one at the top, whatever the case may be. Despite the skid they had a couple weeks ago, the Sun have turned it around. We can't ignore the fact that they have been and still have been one of the best defensive teams in the league, despite their offensive struggles. We've talked a lot about the Minnesota Lynx. Martin last week said that he thought that the Minnesota Lynx were the best team in basketball, and I said last week I thought the New York were the best team in basketball. These three teams, one of these three teams, or maybe even two of these three teams, should be expected to and will likely be competing for the championship this season come September, October, when it's time to crown a champion. These are the three best teams in the WNBA right now. The best teams that should be favored to win the championship. These are the three best teams that are pacing the track, and that, Martin Stories, are the WNBA Tiers 4.0.
Good stuff, man. Just a few points. First of all, it's crazy because new information is just important. As of today, like, because now I have to go even further back. As of today, as of even a week ago or whatever, Angel Reese is the rookie of the year today, in my opinion. We put out our clip where I said Kate, what we talked about it last week, and my pick was Caitlin. But that was last Tuesday. That was a week ago, and since then, I felt like Angel was building her case, but since then, I am now on the side of it should be Angel. I mean, she just won WNBA Player of the Week, the first rookie to do that so far this season, and I think she's doing what she needs to do to actually take the award. So next thing. I did say the Lynx are the best team in basketball last Tuesday, and the Lynx played the Liberty that Tuesday night, and not just saying this because the Liberty won that game, but because I watched it and just getting another look at both teams. I've been watching the Lynx, but trying to watch them more to really get a feel for them. And because of the one player who is a top 10 player who wasn't in your top 10, Jonquel Jones, they have the advantage over the Lynx. If I'm looking at a playoff series, I am going to take the Liberty, and I think the Liberty are the best team. Going back through your tiers, I'm proud of you. Again, this is a good show for you, except for your Matrix tech issues and stuff. But you did some stuff. I'm proud of you for some of the stuff you did on this show. And embracing Paige to DC is the right move. You might as well just get the campaign going. I'm proud of you for just having no shame and just getting on the bandwagon.
I tried to hold on, bro. I really did.
You tried, and I'm proud of you, man. But I'm even prouder that you're just jumping on the bandwagon. You might as well campaign for Paige. She's out there with the Aaliyah jersey repping. Like y'all might as well just come on, Paige. Just get ready for Sunday brunch. Y'all might as well just get ready and welcome her.
Please get ready for Sunday brunch, please.
Yeah. Your point about the Fever last season, I think those are really good tiers. Those dark horses, Dallas or Phoenix and Seattle. I've been saying that from day one that they're the dark horses. It's so obvious that should be where they are until they're not. That's who you really don't want to see in a playoff series. Those two. I think Chicago and Indiana are going to compete, but in a series, I think is where like having to win games. That's where like Phoenix can be scary because they have veterans, Natasha Cloud, Rebecca Allen, Diana Taurasi. They know how to win games. Kalia Copper's won a title. Like they know how to win games. So in a playoff series, that's what makes people like Seattle and Phoenix really dark horses. But to your point, what you referenced about what you said last week, which I think I forgot to push back on you when you said whatever you said about what you saw from the Fever last season. They didn't have Caitlin Clark last season. So just forget about whatever you think you saw last year. Whatever you think you saw at this point last season, whatever they did or didn't do, they didn't have Caitlin Clark, bro. Doesn't matter. Like, forget about that. Let that go. The Ryan Howard thing, you look more foolish than me because you picked her as MVP. I just said she needs to have a great year. So I do look a little foolish, but you look way more foolish than me. And the last thing I'll say is, and I was critical of the pick that Dallas made at 5. How different would Dallas be right now if they just went ahead and drafted Angel at 5, bro?
With everything that we know,
I was fine with JC Sheldon. I mean, hindsight is 2020, of course, but we talked plenty about Angel's potential as a top 5 pick. I mean, again, now that we know what we know, of course, but still, I mean, Angel could have easily been a top 5 pick. People acted like that was some crazy thing, but how different would Dallas be if it was just if Enrique even just had Angel out there, right? Like, come on.
No, I think if you have Enrique and Angel, I mean, that is first of all, they're not just only have 4 wins on the season. That's for sure. That's just for starters. But yeah, they look a lot different. And you also talk about, again, what they look like once Satu gets back, as well as that other part. It makes it that much more.
Would have been the perfect insurance without Satu.
Yeah, the perfect insurance without Satu. So you're right. Hindsight. Yeah, they let this guy get. It's interesting. Like, it's hard to say that that's a steal necessarily.
She fell to 7,
but like
she said it herself. I mean, she did fall.
Like, she fell to 7. You know what I mean? Like, she fell to 7. So I mean, yeah, that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough one for, I think, a couple of teams. Honestly, I mean, I'd say that could for the Mystics even, like, you know, but. Well, I mean, I'm actually glad she's not here. We know how I feel about Eric Tebow and the things he does. I'm actually glad she's thriving elsewhere, because it would be a shame to see her suffer down here.
She went to the right place for sure. I think she ended up
right place. Right. Absolutely. Well, despite the Matrix being out to get me tonight, I would say, all things aside, this was a good night to talk women's basketball. Martin, stories to everyone that tuned in with us. We appreciate you guys for watching. For everyone that will tune in later into the future, we appreciate you guys for watching as well. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, tap in with at Protect Our Queens _ you'll find all of our short form content from the show, as well as just other women's basketball takes throughout the course of the week from show to show. Remember, we're live every Tuesday night right here on the Give a Shot Network at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless you hear other. For my guy, Martin Solis, this is Marcus of the Protect Our Queens podcast signing off. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, you guys enjoy yourselves so much.